All right, word roots. So this is a word knowledge topic, part of vocab, right? And word knowledge is worth 25% of your score on the ASVAB, so definitely important. In terms of improving vocabulary in general, best thing you can do is read 15 minutes a day, preferably something military based, like a blog or a magazine, right? Anything like that. Get used to more words. It'll help you out as far as your score on the exam. With this video and many of the vocab videos, we really try to focus on what to do when we're not sure of the answer, right? If we're seeing words that we don't know, is there any way we can eliminate some answers? So let's take a look. Which of the following words is means? Should have just said means. Which of the following words means nearly the same as misconception? So our word here is misconception. So if I have a misconception about something, it's sort of like a lack of understanding. Okay, so we're looking for a word that's similar to lack of understanding. And so we can see as we're looking at the answer choices on the next line, we do have all of the above as an answer choice. Okay, which always makes it interesting. There might be more than one word here that is similar to misconception, similar to lack of understanding. Okay, the first word, incomprehensible. Okay, so incomprehensible, lack of understanding, very, very similar. I'd be circling that one right away. Right? Try to avoid the temptation just to say, if this was answer choice A, that's it. Let's look at the others and see what we got. Okay, so the next one is fallacy. So the test makers are assuming that there's a lot of people who don't know the word fallacy, right? And so we sort of just have to leave that as a question mark if you don't know what it means, right? And that makes it very tricky with the all of the above, right? But because it's all of the above, then we have another one, and we'll take a look at it, right? So if this third one is mistrust, mistrust and misconception. Mistrust does involve a lot of times a lack of understanding. That's why you don't trust something. So it's not quite as good as incomprehensible, but pretty close. And then your big question here is fallacy. So based on this, if I were to assume I don't know what the word fallacy means, is I would be picking all of the above. Now, it just so happens, right? So fallacy could easily be a word that shows up. And so we'd like to be getting used to some of these words as much as we can, as well as knowing how to game the system, which is what we're talking about here, right? How to eliminate answers. Okay, so go into our answer key. Right here we can see a misconception refers to a wrong idea or faulty impression. A fallacy, which is the one that we're saying we don't know, is also based upon false notions or beliefs. Okay, and so once we see that, fallacy has its roots in a Latin word meaning a trick or deceit. Okay, so we go back there. So then once we hear that, then we know it's all the above, right? Regardless of our thoughts on mistrust, right? And that's really the best you could do. Incomprehensible would be tempting if you didn't know fallacy and you thought mistrust was sort of okay. But that's what happens sometimes, right? Still, like either way, I would have gone with all of the above, and hopefully you would have too. Let's look at the next one. Which of these words is not a synonym for nervous? So they worded it weird right out of the gate, right? Not a synonym. Okay, so synonym means similar. Okay, and so they're not, sometimes people see not a synonym, they think, well, then it's an antonym. And that's not necessarily true. They're just saying that it's not a synonym, right? So it could just, you know, not necessarily be, antonym would be the opposite of nervous, right? That was what they would be asking for. So they're not necessarily saying that it has to be the opposite. They're just saying that it's not a similar word. Okay, for nervous. Okay, so that should mean that we're going to have three synonyms and one that sort of doesn't apply. That's what I'm guessing we would be looking at. Okay, for nervous. So we start off with apprehensive. Yes, that would be a synonym. Shaky for nervous. Okay. We would also call that a synonym. volatile, and they just tend to do this at us, with these three answers. Volatile more so, but not quite as good as the first two. And then you think, okay, well, what's the other one? Volatile perhaps is not a synonym. And then you have neuralgia, like some word that we don't know. Okay. So based on this, if you don't, so again, so what we should have here is we've eliminated apprehensive and shaky, right? We're saying those are synonyms. And then we're left with volatile and neuralgia. And really the problem is that we probably don't know what neuralgia is, right? Volatile is pretty close. It's not perfect synonym, pretty close, but I would be tempted to think neuralgia was the answer. As we go to the answer key, here's neuralgia. Neuralgia refers to pain caused by damage or irritation to the nerves. The word nervous comes from a Latin root, but neuralgia comes from a Greek word neuron. Okay. So neuralgia is definitely not a synonym. Where am I? There it is. Sorry, I couldn't find word roots. Okay, so neuralgia in this case is the answer that we're looking for. These are tricky, right? Word roots, I'd say both of these questions were tricky. The second one, right? Volatile, right? Technically is a synonym, but not nearly as strong as apprehensive, for example. Anyways, that's how you go about doing these. Hopefully this helps with at least being able to eliminate a few of the answers, which is a big part of having our score go up.